folks, I am coming on here today to show you how to make this gorgeous rainbow butterfly card. This video is going to go pretty fast today because it's that quick and easy, but I hope to show you a couple little tips and tricks that you may not know about. So the product that we're going to be playing with today are these gorgeous butterfly dies from our You Are Enough product bundle for May, National Scrapbooking Month. And you can buy these separately. I think they're $34 for the whole set. But as you can see, you get 3 different gigantic butterflies and then an outline and a detail of a smaller size here. So we'll be working with those today. Alrighty, so your basic ingredients here, standard size white card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. A panel that is 4 by 5 1/4, and that's what I use the solid butterfly die to cut out the window here. And then a 4 by 4 square, but I trim this to like 3 7/8 by 4, just so it's a hair smaller. And I will actually, so here's what I did this ahead of time. So you can see how I just used the solid butterfly die to cut this out. And then I used this solid butterfly piece and the detail butterfly die. I just laid that right on top of it. Used a piece of washi tape to stick it down and ran it through the die cutting machine to get the beautiful detail overlay there. So that's how I got those pieces. So the colors that we're going to use for sponging are Distress Oxide inks. We're going to use Candied Apple, Mustard Seed, Peacock Feathers, and Seedless Preserves. And when I'm going to sponge the colors on here, I'm going to overlap them a little bit so you get a nice orange in between the red and the yellow, a nice green between the blue and the yellow, etc. And these Distress Oxide inks are a blend of dye and pigment inks. So they blend beautifully and they have a real creamy texture to them. So when I ink up, instead of just patting on here, give it a swirl. So just swirl it right on your ink pad and you're going to pick up a load of color immediately. And then just use circular motions. I'm using some firmer pressure here to just lay that color down. And mustard seed. Swirl it and lay that as your next color. And I'm kind of using this diagonal approach. There's no rhyme or reason, no right or wrong here for this. And Peacock Feathers, one of my favorite colors. Lay that down. Give it a swirl. I do a little circular motion and then a little bit of up and down. Doesn't have to be so perfect because we're hiding a lot of it with putting that butterfly on the top. And Seedless Preserves. Fill that in with the purple. And maybe bring up a little to the edge there. We're not going to see so much of that though, actually. And then when you overlap, you have that really gorgeous indigo color. All right, so there's your blending. Just that simple, quick and easy. So you're going to come back to this piece. Just lay it over top. And this is the one, I cut this like 3 7/8 just so that it's not going quite edge to edge in case you're a little crooked. So if you cut it to 3 7/8, you got just a little bit of a nice edge that if you're crooked, it's not going to show. Or you won't have to do some clever trimming afterwards. So I'm just putting some glue around the edges. And then I'm going to stand up here, just lay it down. Easy enough, right? So you create this really beautiful window. So this would be a really cool technique to do with any kind of shaped die. Maybe a balloon. I think maybe a big giant snowflake for winter. Do some shades of blues for wintertime. And before you assemble the card, I'm going to stamp this message, "You Shine," right on the bottom here. Intense black. Dog hair! It's always here. And then I'm just going to frame this piece with foam tape. Oh my gosh, look at all that dog hair. You can tell I've got some fuzzy butts in the house. Alrighty, so just framing this with some foam tape. I love popping things up with 3D foam tape. And if there's some dog hair hanging on the back of this in the tape, nobody's gonna know it, right? Just you. Maybe you've got cat hair in your house. Comes along with the territory. All right, and I have cut this to 4 by 5 1/4, so you're going to have just an 1/8 inch of a border all around the sides there, and using the foam tape, you know, really makes it pop out. So your butterfly, you can just dot right down the body and leave the wings loose to pop them up. Give it a little bend. Bada bing. That's it. So on this sample, I glued the entire butterfly down onto the surface there. So either glue the whole butterfly down or just the body. Isn't that super fast and easy? You can crank these out. It's so pretty. It's so pretty, but you can crank them out real fast when you need to make like some mass production if you're sending a whole lot of cards for any kind of occasion or purpose. So before I finish up here, I want to show you the die cutting machine. Let me close these up quick. When you have a real detailed die like this butterfly here, I will show you this just kind of really is awesome. This die cutting machine that Close to My Heart has as a special purchase for hostesses has a pressure dial on the side there. So when you have intricate dies, you can crank up that pressure dial instead of adding cardstock shims. Sometimes you have to do that to add more pressure, but not necessary with this machine. You just crank up the pressure dial and, you know, one pass through and you'll see how amazing it pops everything out. So I'm going to lay this over top and just go off camera quick to crank this through. Yeah, it's the best selling point about this machine is that pressure dial. No more fitting shims and trying to cut little bits out of an intricate die. You won't have to do that ever again. All right, look at that. No fuss, no muss. If anything, you know, maybe give it a little shake. Have your piercing tool on hand to maybe pop out a few of those bits. But look at all those tiny little dots around the edges. They're all popped out. It's amazing how clean and easily this cuts out when you just crank up that pressure dial a little bit. The other thing I want to finish up with showing you is if you don't have one of these, this is kind of a must. Sizzix makes this little brush. You might find another company that makes a little brush roller too. Real stiff brushes up here. And what this is for is to get all those little bits out. You just rub it over your die, your piece. If you have any little bits sticking in there, it pops them right out real fast and easy. But sometimes you have little bits sticking in the die itself. And you want to get those out because if you run this through a second time without popping out all these little bits, the subsequent cuts are not going to cut properly because you're kind of packing up those little holes with paper. You got to get them out before you make your next cut. And you just roll this right over your die and it pops out all of those little bits. Lickety split. And then boom, you're ready to go. There's even a little magnet on the end, so if you're losing little dies on your table, you can pick them up easily with the magnet on the end there. So this is a really great tool to have for your intricate dies. So get all those little bits out before your next turn. So I hope you liked that project for today. Little rainbow background there. And nesting your overlay piece, your decorative piece, right over top of that. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you have any questions, just leave a comment for me. Bye.